Good evening, friends. At some point we're going to have to say no and choose to disobey the orders that we've been given. Get that in your heads. It comes to a point when you'll just have to say no. If you feel to say no, you say no. And that it's okay to disobey. It's okay to disobey the orders that you've been given if you count the cost for your decision. It comes a point when you have to just decide enough's enough. That, certainly when they lie to you, they're not afraid to lie to you every day. It's not a sin to disobey a government. In the Bible, it took a long time for me to get comfortable with the fact saying no is okay. I'm not doing it. No. I'm actually choosing on purpose to disobey. That's what I'm doing. No, I have a reason why I'm disobeying. And the answer is no. No matter how much they make it mandatory or require you to do certain things, if down in your heart you feel like you're going against your own conscience and you're being squashed and silenced because of the injustice of it all, there comes a point when you can't make a deal any longer. You can't become a negotiator. They're expecting to keep pushing the point. It's strategies all the time. But I was reading tonight, I had a scripture verse come to mind actually, and it's in the Great Faith chapter. It's in Hebrews 11, and it says that by faith, Moses' parents hid Moses. And because they knew that, it says that they knew that he was a special child. And they did not fear the command of the king. So, it's in our Bible. It's in the faith chapter. Of all chapters. It's in the faith chapter where Moses' parents actually said no. Probably not out loud. And certainly they were hiding Moses. But there was an edict at the time that all of the Hebrew midwives were commanded to kill every male child that came out of the womb, because the Egyptians did not want the Hebrews to reproduce. We're not at that point. But the same spirit is behind it. The same spirit's been, what about in Germany? When they were requiring people to dob in Jews. These atrocities. Some point, somebody said no. Godly people said no. We're not doing it. And it was illegal. It was actually illegal for them to hide the Jews. But bravely, they did it. At some point you have to say no. Just putting it out there. At some point you have to say no. You don't have to say no. You can go, yes, whatever you tell me, I will do. But if you have a conscience and if you have a heart and it's grating on you, be prepared to say no. I'm not doing it. I know what you're asking me to do. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks for your offer. No. Because there is no end to this without us standing up and saying no. And I'll just have to rethink their strategy, because the answer is no. And don't be afraid to don't be afraid to take a stand. Get comfortable in your skin. You're going to have to stand for something. And if you're normally a fairly obedient, compliant person, because up until now, you're not trying to be rebellious or or sinful or anything that God doesn't have your back for. But I just believe to say it, you're going to have to, if you have a heart at this time, just say no. No. I know what you're wanting me to do. No. And a lot of I began to realise a lot of even my posts and things that are helpful to people with why it's unlawful, why they can't jam all this stuff on you. And at the end of the day, these people, if they are that rabid with what they're trying to do, with their agenda, they'll just push it anyway. And you may or may not find clauses there to support your stand. I mean, it is entirely unlawful. It's unjust and all that stuff. So on that basis, you just have to say no. Like whether you find a law to help you or not, the answer's still going to be no, isn't it? And just to come to peace. But the answer is no. You're not doing this to me. You're not doing this to my body. You're not doing this to my children. You're not doing this to the future. The answer is no. And that your place here, if you're going to do that, your place here is removed. God's going to remove you. Sometimes the pressure can come on you where they're trying to go for your mind. A whole lot of this stuff is just mind games. I just was watching a video short just recently, like just before this video. Scott Morrison was asked about the mental health side effects of this whole thing. And the interviewer, or one of the journos, asked him, what hope do you have to offer for the people that have got mental health issues right now? And he kind of looked away, and then he began to talk about Boris Johnson and the things he said to Boris Johnson, and then they've put record funding into Beyond Blue type organisations. And I thought, there you go. It's just a negotiate. All he's saying, these are my sources, this is the decision I've made. It's not actually leadership. He's just making deals. And he's trying to just say, let the left hand talk to the right. If you've got a problem, don't argue with me. Talk to those guys. If you got a problem with what I'm saying about the lockdowns, he didn't say this, but they all play the same game. If you got a problem with me, you don't like what I'm doing, the advice to me is, and these are all just deal makers, these people. They're not actually leaders. So, and their position requires them to be a deal maker, because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to stay in there by popularity votes and how you can try not to rock the boat too much. But this country this country can't survive while ever you have deal maker politicians in there that aren't leaders, that are working for people behind the scenes, ripping you off, ripping your country off, ripping your children off, taking away your rights, taking away your freedoms. And they're in there and they're immune from the repercussions of what they're causing you, because they're all on benefits. They're on lifetime benefits. The biggest of them are on lifetime pensions. So they're fine. But they are always immune from the repercussions of their choices. So on that basis, don't be nervous to say no. Because the fact is, if you don't, then somebody's going to walk away with the keys to the country, and it's not going to be you. It's not going to be your children. So just some thoughts there. Don't be afraid to say no. And just say, look, even if my answer is illegal in your books, to say no, I'm saying no anyway. Deal with it. And that we can't afford to play into the same game where we're going down the same path trying to negotiate a deal with them, trying to keep our bullies quiet. That's the problem. That they've stolen your freedoms. They've stolen your lawful right to go into businesses and travel around and do whatever you want to do. Now they're holding your freedoms to ransom. They're holding this country to ransom with COVID. They love it. See, and the answer is no. The answer is no, you can't do this to my country. You can't do this to Australia. You can't do this to me. You can't do this to my children. And never before have Australians had to take a stand for Australia. Never before. So this is new for us. We're a very accommodating country. So it's even uncultural for us. We put up with a lot. We get ripped off at every turn. They play games with us. So you need to be able to become comfortable to do some illegal stuff. If your answer of saying no is illegal, then you've got to become okay with that. If it's illegal for you to not be vaccinated, what are you going to do? Or if they use, well, look, okay, you don't have to be vaccinated, but if you ever pass COVID on to anyone else, then you've committed a crime against everybody. If they come up with these schemes, they're sitting there in their ivory houses dreaming up schemes to be able to legally rip your rights from under you and rip your house from under you. They're criminals. They don't care about you, and they're legally immune. They can write whatever they like so that no court can even come back at them for what they're doing. So it's not sin for you to say no. It's not sin for you to rip that mask off and to start to sing to the Lord, especially in a meeting. It's not a sin for you to not have a QR code on your business. It's not a sin. But what it said about Moses' parents, that they did not fear the commandment of the king. And I think that's in the faith chapter of the Bible. That it takes faith to trust God that He's got you, even if they ripped things off you unjustly, unlawfully, even though they made it legal, they made you illegal, cancelled you, did whatever they wanted to do to you. You have to be able to come to peace. Like when the captain goes down with his ship, the captain signs on. When he goes to work on his journey, on his long journey, he signs on that he's going to take care of those passengers and that if anything goes wrong, he's going to go down with the ship. He knows that he comes to peace before he goes on his journey. And that's what we've got to do, is come to peace. That this is a one-way trip for us. We are going forwards, and that's that. We are pressing on towards the command and the mission of Jesus, which told us to go into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. We have orders from the highest authorities. We could get in a lot of trouble for obeying Jesus, but we're going to have to consider the cost. I'd rather be in a whole lot of trouble with civil authorities than to be in trouble with Jesus. We've got to be able to be comfortable with that. I found out how much of a farce the whole thing is. You can see how much of a farce it is anyway. But for a long time growing up, I thought the police were the good guys. And they're there to protect us against the bad guys. But older you get, you begin to realise that the cops are playing the black and the white card at the same time, and that they can be just as criminal as the criminals. But when you realise that, you have to come to peace with what is your mission, what is your life on about, what is the mission that you've been given from the highest authority. And if your government stands in the way of you having your mission from God, then you have to count the cost. That, what are you going to do? You're going to let that government have the final say? Or are you going to step out and choose to obey heaven's orders and trust that God will command his angels to take care of you, to keep you in all of your ways, even if you go through hell with these guys, that God's going to be with you, and that you have peace with God, doing the right thing, doing the thing you've been made for. So, many years ago, I've told the story a few times, I think, but many years ago, I was married before, and I wasn't married for very long, but the situation ended up such that I got some charges against me, and I got taken away in the paddy wagon to the police station, and all it was for my stuff was over at the house. I've been married for 6 weeks, wasn't even long, but my stuff was over at the house. All of my things were over there. I wanted to go there. I wanted to go and sort things out with her and reconcile, but not just hand over everything, just come and talk about it. But I wasn't allowed to come. She said, don't come. And I said, well, I'm coming anyway. And so she took that. And her father was an ex-cop pastor that they devised a way to take that to the police to get an AVO based on my text message saying that I was coming over when she said don't come over. And they used that as evidence that I was a threat. And the police came over, they handcuffed me in my parents' place, chucked me in the back of the paddy wagon, and took me down to the police station and fingerprinted me, gave me charges. I had an AVO for 2 years, and I had a criminal record until I appealed it. But no matter what I said in the court, it came down to one thing. Did you do it? Yep, I did. Doesn't matter why I did it. Doesn't matter why I said it was coming over or anything like that. It was just that she told you don't come. I said I'm coming. That's it. That's the whole thing. And it was like, doesn't matter whether I'm a good guy or anything. It had nothing to do with it. Character references got nothing to do with it. And then I began to see that all they do, they just take a snapshot, picture frame. That is the thing you did. Very, very legalistic. Doesn't take into account who you are or anything like that. And I began to see this whole system is easily manipulated and it's corrupt to its core. There are genuine cases, but there's so many that aren't. And I began to see it for what it was. And I thought, you know what, here I am, I've got a criminal record now. I didn't like the idea of that, especially for travelling, as I like to travel. And so I appealed it. But when you realise what on earth you're up against, most of what you're dealing with is bluff. But there are some evil machinations behind it. And they rely on their sheer size to sort of bulldoze people. They intimidate. Whatever, you know. But when you look at the size of God and his army and his agenda, he's a lot bigger than them. And I had to get comfortable with having a criminal record. I don't have one that they can use against me now because I appealed it. But maybe you'll get a criminal record for standing up. It kind of doesn't matter when you realise it can only attach to your earthly body. You don't get a criminal record in... God's not looking at you like a criminal. It's only this system, which is going to fall anyway. And when you get comfortable with that, I think we've got to take that into account. That's going to happen, probably. But we're here for the replacement of this corruption. And we're going to get any army tank that's been to war, or any vehicle that's been to war, what's it got? It's got bullet holes in it. It's got dents. It's been through trench warfare. It's been through hell. But, you know, that's why people love it. You know, a lot of the ex-military machines that have shown scars and battle damage, that's the stuff that's valuable. And just consider your own life. You're going to end up having cuts, scrapes, bruises, and some stuff going on by the very forces of hell that are against you, against your children, and against this country. But you'll have to stand up against it. Count the cost and say, well, they're going to do it to me, probably, maybe. God will keep me for whatever value I can be for his kingdom. But we're going all in, and that's it. I say no, I stand up, I resist the spirit behind this stuff. And like Jesus said, be wise as serpents, you know, but harmless as doves. You're not personally against the person, but we take a stand against that which has been hiding behind the scenes. That's the evil agenda. And we have to be able to say no. That's the very thing that's being silenced right now. Your choice, your free will. God doesn't even override your free will. But these criminals try and override your free will, you know. They're finding ways to try and override you and to strip from you the very thing that God gave you, was your freedom. So, be prepared to say no. God bless you. Bye-bye.